Brought to you by Penguin.
Feeding Britain: Our Food Problems and How to Fix Them, by Tim Lang. Read by Roy Mcmillan. Preface. Over 40 years ago, I picked up a copy of Le Gros, Clark and Titmus's 1939 Our Food Problem and Its Relation to Our National Defences in a junk shop. I have the copy still. It is an early Penguin special, the series created by the publisher Alan Lane to inform and comment on current affairs. This book gave a sober account of the strategic weakness the UK faced on food. It argued that a country whose state had created a default policy of food imports laid itself open to severe weakness not just in the food itself, but in public morale. Reading voraciously about the 1930s debates led me to earlier ones, and my interest grew in how complex the politics of food are, and how tricky an issue food security can be, and what it means. It also instilled an urgency about food and war which endures. Wars almost always disrupt food systems and often destroy them. Food can be used as a weapon. It can make or break economies. How we manage our food systems is something fundamental to human civilization and culture. We constantly have to update our understanding of what is going on. How societies manage food in war and times of food insecurity necessitates not just public comment, but public engagement. In these days when governments bow down to market power, appreciation of what happens when food is disrupted concentrates policymakers' thoughts on how food is a matter of minds and mouths, not just dry market economics. In the mid-1970s, when I read Le Gros, Clark and Titmus, and many others since, I realized this complexity was missing in the UK and rich world debates. Yet data were emerging about the environment and food, and about psychological traumas over food such as phobias, anorexia, bulimia, body anxieties, etc. My own interest in food policy partly stemmed from doctoral work in this area. Academic understanding of this complexity has grown with the data ever since, and in the 1970s the UK was in the process of joining and then voting on whether to stay in the Common Market, now the European Union. Those politics, too, have come to dominate domestic politics. Joining, like leaving the EU, restructured everything. It meant changing the post-Second World War system of agricultural support from one format, deficiency payments, to another, production subsidies. To switch from one form to another did not seem earth-shattering if its purpose was to ensure the population was fed. The 1970s, like now, saw an explosion of analyses of global food challenges: poverty, maldistribution, inefficiencies. Mostly, these focused on the developing world. Famines, rightly, stalked the news. So where does a rich country such as Britain fit into this, I mused? What lay behind the sober analysis painted in that 1939 book? How could the UK have got into that dire situation? How did it dig itself out? Meeting people who had been involved in trying to sort out the mess inherited in the 1930s and who pushed for post-war reconstruction to prevent it in future taught me the wisdom of earlier generations on UK food security. Many people, both radical and establishment, realised that the UK's imperial model of food supply was weak and its mix of political arrogance and ignorance risky. Never underestimate the capacity of clever human beings to destabilise food potential in the interests of ideology. One sometimes wonders if those today who paint a rosy UK food future out of the EU are as deluded as those who think business as usual is all that is needed. Bigger thinking and planning are needed. While in no way claiming this book has the answers, it is intended to sketch the common good, and to urge that we and other rich countries face the realities. We must realise, and get our policymakers to realise, that we cannot go on eating and feeding as we are without undermining our own interests. Food is a matter that goes beyond the modern religion of individual choice. There is such a thing as society and the collective interest. There will always be outliers, variations from the norm, but the common good is sketchable. To use another sector as an example, there might...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?